But it's all part of just the holiday season and getting everyone ready for what this year is a very long holiday break, which I know some of our students are excited about as well. So I'd like to just recognize Hope, Isabel, Allison, McKenna, all of their families that are here tonight, as well as the schools over at Southern and West Middle School. And at this time, any students that are here, I'd ask you to come up and start with Mr. McCree here. We can shake hands, and as you get to me, I will hand you a framed piece for you to take with you, for you to share with your families. So thank you very much, and please come up to the front of the board room.
And the families who are here for the cards, if you want to stay for our next performance, it will be worthwhile. You also don't have, you can stay as long as you like. But our next performance, I would like to call, we are having the high school select and treble choirs. So I would like to call Mrs. Emily Fredericks.
Weekends ago, we were actually invited to sing with the Reading Symphony Orchestra, and so we sang at the Santander Performing Arts Center. It was a really exciting experience, and one of the pieces that their director, Andrew Constantine, chose for us was the 12 Days of Christmas. It's a really interesting little arrangement of it, and there was audience participation, so we thought we'd bring that to you. Now, we didn't bring the symphony with us, we've got electronics, so it leaves a little something to be desired, but we're gonna sing the whole song, but we're gonna do the first 5 golden rings, and then the rest of them are up to you. So, those of you who were here for some other thing, you're sorry, but you're in it now. You're in it now. All right, so here we go. 12 Days of Christmas. good sports. We have two more, just some short Christmas carols. We have a caroling tradition. We'll actually be caroling through the school on Friday. So these are a couple from that. We'll start with Angels We Have Heard on High, and then we'll leave you with We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being here. Little shout out that we have a concert on Wednesday if anyone can fit things into their very busy schedule. This time of year is crazy, but 7 p.m. at West Middle School if you want to join us. All right, Angels We Have Heard on High.
Thank you very much to all of this. First of all, the fact that you had no music, that was amazing. I mean, when we had to sing the 5 gold rings, I was just kind of, because yeah, the talent in this room is just overwhelming. So thank you all for sharing that talent with us, and definitely put us in the holiday spirit. So thank you all. Have a great break, and thank you for coming. Next, under communications, we have a presentation for our financial and compliance audit from Herbine and Company. So I would like to call up Ms. Megan Thompson.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. I am here from Herbine and Company to go over a brief overview of the 23-24 audit. The audit report is available attached to the minutes and was reviewed in detail with the Finance Committee prior to tonight. So I'm just going to go over the highlights, but happy to answer any questions that you have. So I always like to start with a reminder that we do audit the district's records under 3 standards. Generally accepted auditing standards is where we look at the numbers and the disclosures in your report. Government auditing standards, where we look at internal controls over that financial reporting. So for the district, that's looking at your controls over cash disbursements and payroll. And then also uniform guidance, where we look at certain federal programs to do a test on compliance. And our responsibility is to issue 2 opinions, one on whether your financial statements are fairly stated, and a second opinion on compliance with the federal programs that we test. For this year, we tested Title I and the Special Education or IDEA program. I'm happy to report that we had unmodified opinions or clean audit opinions on both the financial statements and the federal programs that we tested. And we had no deficiencies or noncompliance that we noted during our procedures. So your staff does a really good job keeping the records clean throughout the year. Just to go over a few financial highlights for the 23-24 year for the general fund. The general fund ended with a surplus of $2 million. A lot of that surplus came from local revenue exceeding budget. Items such as earned income tax, interest income, delinquent taxes exceeded budget just with the economic environment. But also expenditure control. Your total expenditures in the general fund were $2.5 million under budget. So both of those factors leading to a surplus, which brought you to an ending fund balance of $34.7 million in your general fund. Of that, $25.7 million has been committed for purposes such as future retirement rate increases from PSERS, enrollment expansion efforts, and equipment purchases. You also have $1 million of assigned fund balance, which is your budgetary reserve for the 24-25 year, leaving you with an unassigned reserve of $7.7 million. That $7.7 million is 5.4% of the next year's budgeted expenditures. So it's in compliance with your policy to stay above 3%. So a healthy year financially for your general fund. You have 2 enterprise funds, the Child Care Fund and the Food Service Fund. Both had very strong years financially as well. Your Food Service Fund had a surplus of $1 million, and your Child Care Fund had a surplus of $462,000. So the district is in a very financially healthy position. We had no difficulties or disagreements with management performing the audit. Very minimal adjusting journal entries for adjustments that we're contracted to assist with, and nothing else that I need to report to you tonight. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you very
Thank
much for all
you.
the work. Yes, thank you for your report. And thank you to Mrs. Schlossman and the financial department that did, and everyone down the system that also make sure that they're compliant with the federal programs that ended in this result. It's not just magic, right? It's a lot of hard work, so we appreciate it. Next, under communications, Lincoln Park update from Crabtree, Rohrbach and Associates. So we're starting with Dr. Trickett. Okay, Dr. Trickett, thank you. And Mr. Sean Dowdy is here as well.
So as Sean is approaching the podium, he really doesn't need an introduction, as he's been before this board and our community for the better part of, I think, 3 or 4 years now. Just as he moves into the slides here, I do want to remind the board and address the community that there is a board motion later on in the agenda, which is why Sean is here, to educate us all in regards to where we've been, what we've been up to over the last 6 months since the last time we came before the board as a whole, and really addressed the design and some of the work that we're involved with the Lincoln Park site. I am happy to see you again before the board in regards to Lincoln Park, although you were just here with Southern Middle School. I'm proud of the work that we've accomplished and look forward to sharing some of this information with the community tonight. So turn it over to Sean.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett, and that was a really high bar for a fast presentation. I'll do my best. So it's good to see you all this evening. Tonight we're going to talk about Lincoln Park Elementary School, give you a quick reminder of where we left off when we kind of hit the brakes a little bit in August. We'll show you a little bit about the design, but then we'll also talk about the unsuitable soils condition that you're all aware of at the Lincoln Park site. We'll talk about the budget, where we stand today, and then a little bit about the Act 34 process and a timeline looking ahead as it pertains to your action as a board. and then we can open it up, but feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So really quick, just looking at the site plan for the Lincoln Park Elementary School. Of course, we're using the site that previously had the elementary school in Lincoln Park, with the main entrance coming off of West Wyomissing Court to the left of the screen. The access drive will be a two-way access drive all the way through back to Wadsworth Avenue, and that is a result of our continued discussions with the Planning Commission and the Township of Spring that has been proceeding even despite the design pause. So as you come in through the site, first is the parking area, followed by the school itself. There are two play areas, playground spaces on the site. The smaller one, kind of on the bottom side of the school, as you see it on the plan, is the kindergarten play area, and then a larger hard surface and soft surface play area for 1st through 5th grade. And then the service area is kind of right off of the access drive to the top side of the school, as you see on the plan. The building itself is designed with 2 classroom wings, one of which is a 2-story classroom wing, the other one is a 1-story. The 1-story classroom wing is to the bottom left, as you see it in the screen, and that has the pre-kindergarten classroom with its own separate entrance, as well as 3 kindergarten and 3 first grade classrooms. The classroom wing to the top right of the screen is the 2-story wing. On the first floor would be 3 second grade classrooms and 3 third grade classrooms. To the top left, of course, is the admin area right next to the main entrance with a secure entry vestibule. As you move through the main common space, you then pass the library, music and art, and then the multi-purpose room, which will have a gymnasium and the cafeteria space. Bottom right corner is the service area with the kitchen, mechanical areas, and some gymnasium storage. On the second floor is the 4th and 5th grade wing. Then we also have a special discovery classroom right at the top of the stair as you come up from the main level, main commons. We do also have SGIs throughout the building, several downstairs and these 2 upstairs. And then there's a flex classroom, and then of course there's special education classrooms populated throughout, 3 of which have their own separate bathrooms within the special education classrooms themselves. So looking at what this looks like from a 3D perspective, so we've got a few shots around the site here. This one, of course, is from the main entrance side. So you can see the 2-story classroom wing to the left, and then a kind of dynamic roof feature over the main entrance, and the discovery classroom right there. And then, of course, the admin wing is there too. So eyes on the street, that's always the first matter of security, is having good visibility out to the parking lot and the entrance area. So that's a key feature here. You'll see that we're incorporating multiple materials and colors, kind of to reduce the scale of the building and keep it appropriate for the neighborhood surrounding it. So as you work your way around here, of course, this is the side with the kindergarten play area. These will all be fenced in so that they can be secured off during the day. And then, so the library is right there as well. The kindergarten will have immediate access to this play area, which is really important, so they don't have to go around the building to get to it. Then working around further, this is the Dorchester side, so this is where the 1st through 5th grade play area is. We'll have playground equipment, soft surface and hard surface play areas. And this is the side that kind of faces the neighborhood, and that's always been kind of by design as well, as a neighborhood amenity. And then as you work around the multi-purpose room, that's the large volume space there. This comes back to the service area. You can actually see a little bit of the mechanical equipment. That'll actually be screened off, so you don't actually see it as prominently. And then, of course, you can see the 2-story classroom wing, and here's a little close-up for it. So the beige material will be metal panel, and that's supported and surrounded by red brick masonry, very appropriate for a residential neighborhood. So we're very excited about how this is shaping up. Inside, this is right inside the main entrance, so you can get a look at the 2-story classroom wing entrance. So the stairs right there. As you do at your other elementary schools, we're kind of designating each classroom wing with its own color to give it a little bit of a wayfinding and identification. So here we're showing the Let's see, the second and third grade wing is green, the fourth and fifth grade wing is blue. And then, of course, there's tackable surfaces all throughout. All those kind of polka dot features are actually tackable surfaces. In addition to being aesthetically pleasing, they're useful too. So we'll have tackable surfaces and tack strips throughout the building for your various art shows and other events that you do throughout the year. Moving along, this is further down the Main Street corridor. So this is the entrance to the cafeteria and gymnasium further beyond. Kind of utilizing some oversized logos and insignia. That's very Wilson specific. And then this is the other kindergarten first grade wing, so that would be the red wing. So you can also see the clear story windows up at the top. That's bringing in natural light throughout the Main Street area. Here's a look just inside the reception area and the admin. So again, prominent features showing off Lincoln Park Elementary School. But again, like a warm, welcoming entrance point. And this is where, of course, everyone will be vetted out before granted access to the rest of the building. This is inside the library. I think we're still working out the finished floor. It should be carpeted, but you can see it's a dynamic space that kind of has this compression point as you walk in on the far side of the image, and then as you come further into the room, it kind of slopes up and becomes a much more dynamic space. Those are acoustical panels up there as well, and all of these kind of spaces with exposed structure, roof, deck would all have acoustical decking as well to help with acoustics. This is the Discovery Classroom, so a similar feature as you see in the library, but kind of with more furnishings to suit your Discovery program. You might recall for the site we had to obtain an actual access point out to West Wyomissing Court. So that's all been done. The paperwork is signed and set to go. How that actually shaked out was using an easement with the property to the south side. So that's all squared away and ready to go. So we're in good shape there. As far as land development goes, as you might be familiar, as some of you might be familiar with what we did at the high school project, there's two kind of tracks that happen parallel with each other. One's with the Berks County Conservation District as a representative of the DEP. So this project requires an individual NPDES permit, which is National Pollution Elimination, elimination system. So that's required because of the watershed that the site dishes off to. So as you might recall, we have a significant length technical review period that Berks County Conservation District takes on. They are now in that. They've in fact been in that technical review period since early August. So they say 107 working days. They're about 5 months. So we're anticipating comments hopefully anytime in the next month or two, which puts us in great shape. Until that comes, we can't get our final approval with the township, but we're continually working with the township to get things set up and ready to go. So as we've been on pause for design through the past few months, we've continued with Spring Township with the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, and they both have recommended the approval of the various zoning requests that we have to put this building on that site. The Zoning Hearing Board will be meeting on December 18th, so in a couple of days. So we're anticipating presenting that to them and hopefully getting their approval on the zoning requests. Once we have their approval, we'll be taking it back to the Planning Commission Board of Supervisors and issuing a final set of land development plans to them. I'd anticipate getting a conditional approval from them, and that is conditional upon receiving the permit from DEP. And then we'll get our final approval after that's all said and done. Okay, so you remember when we hit the pause, I was showing you how we had preliminary borings done, and then we supplemented that with additional borings because the preliminary ones were a little bit concerning, and the supplemental ones, of course, did kind of validate our concerns. So there's a strata of very soft soil down to about 20 feet below ground throughout much of the site where we are planning this building. So we hit the pause button, and if you could advance the slide, thank you. We had K&W, our civil engineer and geotechnical engineer, come up with a couple options to mitigate the soft soils. So they did that. The one was a very expensive option, which was removal of all the unsuitable soil and replacing it with a suitable, probably stone fill. That turned out to be almost not worth even talking about, that expensive. They also had another option called rigid inclusions, which were, in short, solid ground improvement elements that transfer the building loads through an array of kind of vertical forms that go down into the ground pretty deep. They estimated that at between $1,050,000 and $1.5 million. Wilson School District elected to engage another geotechnical engineer kind of for a second opinion. And they went out and did their own set of analyses and testing and came up with another recommendation, which is to over-excavate where all of the footings are going, as well as the columns, and then backfilling that over-excavation like another 6 feet below where we would usually excavate to in a normal soil situation, backfill up with stone, and then throughout the rest of it, where it's just a slab on grade situation, they would be doing a cement soil stabilization. So injecting cement into the soil down to about 15 inches below the slab on grade. So the cement soil stabilization portion of it, we've gotten priced out through a contractor already, and that came out to $138,000. GTA has given a ballpark order of magnitude for this entire concept, including both parts, at around $700,000, so significantly below the options that were proposed by K&W, which is really great news. And the balance between $700,000 and $138,000 leaves a lot of room for that over-excavation work. We are still working on getting an actual contractor pricing for that to help with that estimation. But the good news is we're looking in much, much better shape than the potentially up to $1.5 million that we were looking at earlier. Now, that being said, we are still holding an allowance for $1.5 million just for our budgeting purposes. And then you might recall we've also had a look at the water pressures. Are they suitable to support a fire suppression system in the building? They are, the water flows, I should say, not necessarily the pressure, were not sufficient to do that. So we have to work in a pump station as well as a pump house to enclose it and a tank to support the amount of water that we need for this building. So with all of that said and done, the pump station and the tank and the pump house together are about $700,000. And then also the general site work has increased a little bit as a result of the grading getting worked out. There are a handful of retaining walls that we're going to need over on the Dorchester side, as well as some staircases and things like that. There's pretty significant grade to overcome on that side of the property. So you can see here we've increased the budget to account for these things. The building structure cost itself for the building, we've increased the dollars per square foot by 2, not very much, to account for a slight amount of inflation. And then, of course, we've added a basement to the building. It's almost like a no-brainer. Because of the soft soil situation, we have to go down a little bit. It opens up a good opportunity just to add some district storage space on the lower level. That's about 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, so there is some cost to that, but you're kind of spending the money anyhow, so in a way. So that became a no-brainer opportunity to work into the design. So with all of these things, there are, of course, the escalation factors added on to those. That accounts for the anticipated inflation between now and kind of the bid date time period. And then some construction-related soft costs, which we estimate as a percentage of the project. Those percentage-based costs go up as well because of these various different cost increases. Can you go back, Ryan? Sorry. So that puts us at a total project cost estimate of between $35.0 and $38.6 million. So that's the range that we're looking at. So all of these numbers kind of get thrown into a bag and shaken up a little bit by the Plan-Con forms that we have to complete in order to do the Act 34 process. So at the end of the day, what we need to produce is a maximum building construction cost that we report as part of the Act 34 process. So you may recall we're required to do this by state law. So what the maximum building construction cost is the entire kind of constructible cost of the project, as well as a couple other things like the architect's fee, movable fixtures, furniture, and equipment. And then it kind of backs out the site work stuff. So all of the site design, as well as the soil mitigation and the pump house, things like that, that all gets backed out of this. So at the end of the day, where we sit for the Act 34 maximum building construction cost is $28,105,264. So this is going to be the number that you as a school board, should you elect to do so, will take up a resolution on January 20th, 2025, January 20th next year. And that'll be a roll call vote that you will all say yay or nay. And that then becomes part of the Act 34 booklet. That same day, I will be presenting that Act 34 booklet with your roll call vote worked into it. And then that kind of kicks off the entire Act 34 process from there. So here you can see the timeline of that. Of course, tonight I'm giving you this project update, and I just told you the maximum building construction cost. And then with your election to do so, we would be moving into the construction documentation phase after tonight. January 20th, as I mentioned, you'll take up the resolution and I'll present the booklet. And then following that, it would go into an advertised time period for the Act 34 hearing itself after you approve the booklet at subsequent meetings. And then there would be a comment period after the hearing as well. So all said and done, we're probably looking out into the March-April timeframe to complete the whole Act 34 process. I'll give you more information on those dates to follow at the January 20th meeting. But for now, we're mostly concerned with the maximum building construction costs. The way that works is we're just trying to fine-tune or kind of put you as a school district in the best position to deliver a buildable project when the bids come in. So looking at the timeline ahead, so the Lincoln, I'm continuing to show the same timeline in conjunction with the Southern Middle School project. I'm not really presenting anything on Southern Middle School tonight, but just to keep it all into context for you. So the top part is the Lincoln Park project. So today we're in December, and then we'd be looking to move into construction documentation pretty much from here to the end of the design work. We're hoping to have our technical comments in by the late February, hopefully sooner timeframe, so we can incorporate all of their comments into the bid documents. And then once all of that is complete, we will be seeking your approval as a board to bid the project itself. So that'll put us into the early summer time period to bid it, and then late summer to begin construction. As you could see there, that it's kind of resuming again a parallel track to the Southern Middle School project. And that's what I have tonight. So questions, I'm sure you have some.
Bob?
Mr. Schneider?
Yeah, so thank you for that, by the way. With regards to like what I saw on the, we'll call it the livable space that the students and staff would be using, nothing really seemed very different with that. It's all just the underground.
No,
piece.
I made a couple minor tweaks. The livable space, as you put it, is about 200 square feet bigger, so modestly.
Okay.
And the purpose of that was to gain capacity as PDE sees it, which helps us boost the maximum building construction costs as much as we can. That's all derivative of the amount of students they conceive could fit into this building, which far exceeds by a long shot what you would ever want to do, knowing your educational program.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions from the board?
Sean, hey, it's Ed Case. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thanks. Great presentation. Can you just, as a reminder, there's the maximum construction cost for is $28 million, but the budget is 35 to 38.6 million. Can you just again go over the gap between the construction costs of the building and what we're presenting the Department of Education and where we get $10 million over that to $38 million for the full budget?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Thank you, Mr. Case. So, as I mentioned, the maximum building construction costs, first and foremost, backs out all of the costs for the site work and related to that. So that is including the design fees, kind of apportioned to the site work. So if you go to the top number on this slide, that's the structure cost of $34.5 million. And then there's various other fees as well that go into our budget that are not incorporated into the structure costs. And those include like the permitting fees, the regulatory fees that go into this, and other soft costs as well that go into, if you go to the slide previous, Ryan, thank you, that go into the box 10 on the bottom in the left corner. Your financing fees are also backed out of that amount. So when you add in those things, that's how you get up to the 30, in the middle, the $36.8 million. Does that help, Mr.
Okay,
Case?
and yeah, and furniture is included in that, correct?
Furniture goes into the structure cost, maximum building construction cost.
Oh, it does. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's the way the statute and PDE tells you to do it, so.
Yes.
So it's clear, I know the previous slide had the actual form that you need to fill out, so it's not, you're not doing this any different than the way it's supposed to be done.
Right.
The PDE tells you to do it.
Yeah, so the way it works is PDE has a Plan Com Part D form that we have to fill out, and we take all of these numbers and kind of box, let's see, box 3 and 4 and 6, all of those get the escalation, 3, 4, 6, and 7, all of those get the escalation factors added into them. You pump that into their form, and it's an Excel spreadsheet that they have that it just knocks it out for you pretty much. So that's where we land.
I have a question. Obviously now, if we're going to add a 5,000 square foot basement, and I definitely understand how basements are ideal for storage, was there any consideration of making that usable space for teaching? Because obviously the original intention of the school was to have 4 classrooms at every grade level, and obviously we've kind of reduced that down.
Yeah, the reason we would not is, first and foremost, we'd have to have an elevator in that side of the building. So we're kind of taking advantage of the grade change over there so that it can just have its entrance from outside straight into the storage. If we were to make that accessible for teaching space, we would need an elevator in that corner of the building, which we do not, because that's otherwise the one story. Furthermore, that basement is maxed out to its code limit as far as square footage that it can have before it needs another means of egress out of it. So it's all like favored to the one side for that reason.
So just to clarify, there's no access point within the building? The only
No,
access point is
it's-
outside?
It's outside only.
And just one more question. I know previously we had talked about, I know when you had the schematics up there of the exterior, we had talked about the possibility of adding, canopies for drop-off and so forth like that. So that's still not included in this
It's
budget like
still
most
not
of our
included.
elementaries have. I know not all of them do, but
Correct. It's still not included in this budget. I have done relatively recently in a different market, though, fairly lengthy, almost football field length canopy. And it was a bare bones version of it, and it was about $750,000. Not overly designed, not with like masonry piers or anything. It was just a metal canopy. So that could give you an idea of an expenditure. Now, that's a very long 300-foot canopy. Maybe you don't need one
you
that
probably don't
long.
need that one that size for this elementary school,
I have a question related to, now, I don't know if this is getting too into the weeds, but you mentioned that there is going to be carpeting in the library. What is our floor surface for the general classrooms?
They're carpeted as well.
And
And now
is-
they would be like this, where it's not broadloom, so that, if, somebody drops something here, you can pull up this tile and replace that tile without having to replace the carpeting in the entire room.
Is there a big price difference between this, like, tile-by-tile carpet versus, I don't know, linoleum, whatever other surface, hard surface we would choose?
Yeah, we've had a lot of discussions about this, and it seemed that between the maintenance of it and the teacher's preferences, carpet really won out. And part of that was due to its sound attenuation features. It's really nice in a classroom in that sense. Maintenance-wise, I think the maintenance staff might slightly prefer a hard surface. It's a little easier to sweep and clean. But we're probably looking probably another $3 or so a square foot for like an LVT or VCT flooring. Yeah.
Mrs. Cocker's asking because I just went to a activity that they were doing at Green Valley where they were making gingerbread houses. And
Messy.
wow, it really was not appropriate for carpet. And just having taught myself, there's something gross about carpets in elementary school classrooms. And in fact, when I was there, I walked in the classroom, I looked off to my right, and I thought there was like some sort of a ceiling leak.
Yeah.
But it was someone dropped their water bottle, and it's like, and then like I was helping a kid with their, and I looked down, and someone's water bottle is, like, it's just gross.
Yeah.
I love them, but they're gross.
Yeah. We can continue that discussion. That's not something that has to be decided immediately. And I should correct myself. The price that I gave you is an upcharge for LVT. VCT is a little bit cheaper, but the options for VCT have gotten really, that's the 12-inch by 12-inch tiles that you're probably accustomed to. The options for that have gotten really, really slim. Fewer and fewer manufacturers of that. So we're kind of steering away from that a little bit. Some school districts don't like the LVT thing, but that seems to be where the market is shifting for resilient floors.
I have a question about the process. As a layperson with no expertise in this, it seems like this has been broken down into multiple stages. And the first stage was to identify the space, and you came to us with pretty basic plans at that point, and we voted to proceed. And the numbers that you're presenting to us now, obviously, are not what we were hoping for. We hoped the soil would be better than it was. But as I understood this stage that we're in right now, the whole purpose of it is to find potential flaws or issues that could come up prior to going out to the bid process. Is that accurate?
Sure. And that geotechnical analysis was a humongous part of that. I think with that kind of behind us now, and we've also gotten, of course, our flow readings for the water pressure. Those are the big elements that I would anticipate as the surprise elements. So as far as our process from here on out, it's just implementing all of those facets that we've talked about into the design and putting the details together for bidding purposes. That includes the details that are drawing details as well as the specifications and so on. So that design development process that we are looking to conclude is where all of that stuff shakes out, would have been found, and it was.
So I'm assuming you've done dozens of these, multiple dozens of these types of projects, and that it's not uncommon for unexpected stuff to come up, because that's the whole purpose of this, is to find any issues, to determine if the issues are so significant that they should derail the project, or if they can be worked around or accommodated financially.
Correct.
So that when the bid document goes out, there's no big surprises there. Like at this point, you feel that the due diligence has been done by all the involved parties, that we're going to go to bid, and then, assuming we vote on that, and then we're going to go to bid, and then we're going to break ground. And up until we break ground, every contingency pretty much has been found. I realize that breaking ground presents a whole new thing. Even I, who knows nothing about construction, knows that, but
So
is that fair to say?
It is. One thing that those borings were only done in like a couple polka dotted spots, because otherwise, we can't bore the whole site. We have to pick and choose where we think footings are going to be, where they're digging deeper. But they're, some cases 20, 30 feet apart from each other, and we don't know what's happening in the interim. The good news about this is those borings were, by and large, so consistent, and there was zero rock in those. That's a big unknown usually when they go to break ground. And I'm not saying there won't be rock, but sure doesn't look like it from our perspective. What that could also help with on bid day is we do pretty much as a standard, an alternate bid for unclassified construction. And what that is when the contractor in their base bid will assume that the owner will be responsible at the unit cost price for any rock or other unsuitable features found during excavation. With the alternate bid, they give you a price on bid day up front for them to assume all of the responsibility should they encounter any unsuitable things like rock to design subgrade. I think the good news here is I would anticipate that because those borings are so consistent across the board, you're probably going to get a really favorable number for that alternate bid. I would anticipate, which is another great way to work in a contingency for, again, another unknown that we might face when they start digging. The other thing is this is a brand new building, and it is much, much easier to design a brand new building than an addition and renovation, and also a little bit easier to estimate. So, we're fully aware of what we're dealing with from the ground up. It's a blank canvas, and a lot of times with renovation projects, things come up that you couldn't have foreseen. We can't lift every single ceiling tile in Southern Middle School, for example. So that one's a little harder to estimate, and we work in contingencies for that too. But the point I'm making is this being a new building, we have a clearer picture of, everything that's going to be done structurally.
Along those lines, and I know we've discussed this at some of the facilities meetings, but maybe you can share with the public. This is a whole new building, but it's going on a space where there was a building before. Why are we just discovering now about the soil if there was a building in this area before?
Well, the building was in a different spot on the site, first and foremost. It was pretty much right up against Dorchester Avenue. It's a little hard to say why they didn't have trouble before. I truly don't know, aside from them being in a different spot on the site. After seeing the boring results, the way it kind of looks is that the area where the ball fields currently are is probably some fill at some point many decades ago that never got fully compacted. That's the way that appears to me now. But the building was in a different area altogether.
So it was never on the area where we're looking at here.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dowdy, as
quite welcome.
always, for your report and updating the board. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Takes us to the solicitor's report. Mr. Maravich.
So I understand we're going to do the peppermint pig now. Whenever these meetings take place, I consistently go back and look for the picture that was in the Reading Eagle from like 1991, and I can never find it. You used to be able to get the archive before, and you can't really get it. But I understand that this has been a tradition at least from then, if not before. So in early December's long since past, while the quaint villages of Spring, Lower Heidelberg, Spring Township, and West Lawn slept quietly through a chilled and moonlight eve, legend suggests that a bit of holiday magic was in the making. The first dusting of winter snow gathered in the doorways of candy shops dotting Berks County. Behind the wooden doors of those candy shops, tireless candy makers labored into the night over bubbling candy pots, continuing the holiday tradition known to all as the Peppermint Pig. While other times of the year might be known for the Wilson Bulldog, this was the season of the Peppermint Pig, which was cast of hard candy similar in fashion to a candy cane and festive pink in color. And while the pig is honored in holiday tradition as a symbol of good health, happiness, and prosperity, these special peppermint pigs, unique to Berks County, came to represent much more. While red-cheeked children laughed and rode old wooden sleds over fresh snow, and while church bells rang, families gathered for the holiday dinner. After the holiday dinner, the pig was passed with each person in turn giving the pouch holding the pig a firm tap and remembering a matter of disappointment from the year past. However, with the sharing of the delicious broken pieces of peppermint, each person would instead then recall a warm memory and share their hope for prosperity for the coming year. Wishing good health, happiness, and prosperity to the entire Wilson community.
Okay, so here is our peppermint pig going in the pouch for protection. And the tradition is for our new board members to, oh no, you were here for the peppermint pig last year, never mind. This is a second annual for you too. Is that we will smack it. It comes with this tiny little hammer, but I think we'll use the gavel. So when you hit the pig, take a little whack, your frustration goes into it, and then when you take a piece out, it's to represent the new year. So, okay. And everybody gets a little tap. Oh, I guess the last person's gonna have smaller pieces. Maybe I'll wait till it comes back around. I didn't hit it very well.
Should we start all the way down the end?
Yeah, let's start around. Yep. And if each board member wants to take a significant size, so I don't have to take the rest of the peppermint bagel.
I will also say, when Judge Failing passed this tradition on to me, he did show up for the first meeting to make sure that it continued. I took a pretty big piece, so I might need to Heimlich on this one, but.
It tastes just like a candy cane. So if there's extra and anybody in the audience wants them at the end, it's delicious. I showed it before we smashed it. I'm kind of glad it's not a bulldog because I feel like that would be sacrilegious, right? Like we're not going to hit our bulldog with a gavel. And thank you to Mr. Maravich for keeping the language that is repeated every year. You know, it's an important document to hold on to for our tradition.
It's easy to research peppermint and find it. It's not usually in any legal documents.
That's a good point. In your Google Docs, right? Okay, so here is to a Happy New Year, as this is our last meeting in the 2024 school year, or 2024 calendar year. And that takes us into the meat of our actual, it's 8:15 and we're getting started with the real meeting. So just want to make the announcement that the board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters. And looking for a voice vote to approve the minutes, requesting to approve the minutes, looking for a motion first to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on December 3rd, 2024.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Treasurer's report, Mr. McCray.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report, investment report, general and capital funds, financial reports as presented.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Payment of bills, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills from the general fund, $2,705,907.27. From capital reserve, $933,373.25. And from the 2021C construction fund, $1,348,925.70.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
And financial reports, Mr. McCray.
Motion to approve the financial reports for the month of November 2024, specifically the cafeteria and childcare funds, along with the activity counts at Southern Middle School, West Middle School, and the senior high as presented.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 5.1. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Madam President?
Yes.
Excuse me, on
Mr.
4.1, I would like to change my vote to abstain. I apologize about that.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Troutman, 4.1.
Noted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hart. Superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Tonight, included in the superintendent's personnel report, starting with retirements, Mr. Matt Hiskin over at Southern Middle School and Mr. Christopher Leckleitner at Cornwall Terrace Elementary School, both longtime educators in the district. I do want to just share a quick story about Chris. Perhaps a month or two ago, I was volunteering at a fundraiser, just supporting the kids that night, and when I walked in, the very first educator that I saw, I believe it was a Friday night or some weeknight, perhaps late, it was dark, was Chris. And I think that alone, coupled with all the things that he has done for decades and decades for kids, is just a perfect snapshot of who he is as a person as well. You know, choosing to be there at night, volunteering, supporting high school students, when his own high school children have since graduated, just speaks to the type of person he is. And I'm happy to report, however, that he is going to still stay involved in some of his co-curricular and extracurricular activities. And same could be said for Matt Hiskin, has been supporting kids and working with kids and coaching in a variety of different roles in the community for years. So we wish both Matt and Chris happiness and fulfillment in their next stage of their lives. And the last piece is under support staff hires. 3 support staff hires on the agenda this evening. Taking your attention to the top 2 specifically, Giovanna DeFazio and Kylie Evans. Both are current Wilson graduates who are pursuing and passionate about the career of education and are coming back to support us in a substitute special education instructional assistant role, which again speaks to some of the progressive things that we're trying to do as an organization to build that pipeline to for educators to, you know, consider that as a profession of choice and to consider Wilson as the employer of choice. So congratulations to our team for making this happen, and welcome back officially as employees to both Giovanna and Kylie. Welcome to Kimberly as well. That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. We have superintendent's report items. Looking for a motion to approve 6.1 through 6.9 as presented. Casper. Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Schneider.
If I could just sort of, I always wish the retirees, you know, a relaxing and enjoyable time, but I'm going to double down on Chris, as Dr. Trickett did, because I've known him since before he was even a teacher here, and he has been my coach. He has coached countless youth in that time, in addition to the number of students that have moved through, and I've seen how kids come up to him as they're older in high school who had him as a teacher or are, we won't say how old, to engage him in conversation. And yeah, he's always been a jewel to have for the district. And so I wish him the best, and I'm glad he's staying on in some of his extracurricular roles.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Any other comments for superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Human Resources, 7.1, request to approve the updated job descriptions as attached for Administrative Assistant to the Director of Student Services. Looking for a motion for 7.1.
Hart.
Mr. Hart, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under ratification approval of following field trips, request approval for 45 students in the high school ski club to Stowe Mountain and Smuggler's Notch ski resorts from February 20th to February 23rd, 2025, 1 day out of school. Cost of students is approximately $530. The cost of the district is 2 substitutes for 1 day. Students will be chaperoned by Mr. Greg Brooks and Ms. Kelly McDonough. Looking for a motion to approve the field trip for 8.1.
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to consent items. 9.1, request to accept with gratitude the following donations. From Capital Blue Cross, $1,500 for the 2024 Live Healthy School Grant to be used to support Wilson Middle School Tennis Intramural Program. 9.2, request approval of the appointment. One moment. Are we okay to do all of the? You're okay. Okay. 9.2, request to approve the appointment of our designated representatives to the PA School Board Association for 2025 as follows. PSBA representative, myself, Steph Cocker, legislative chairperson, Jennifer Denny, and employee relations contact, Guadalupe Casper. 9.3, request to approve the appointment of the Wilson School District's Chief Financial Officer, Christine Schlossman, and Controller, Joanne Beard, as delegate and alternate delegate, respectively, to serve on the Berks Tax Collection Committee, Berks EIT Executive Committee. 9.4, request approval of the appointment of Guadalupe Casper as our district representative to the Joint Operating Committee of Berks Career and Technology Center for 2025. And 9.5, request approval of the appointment of Dr. Amy Kennedy as a representative to the Berks County Intermediate Unit for 2025. Looking for a motion to approve consent items 9.1 through 9.5.
McCray?
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under Student Services, request 10.1, request permission to approve the adoption of a settlement agreement and release for a placement in lieu of FAPE at a private school program as presented. 10.2, request approval of an affiliation agreement with Loyola University, Maryland, to provide a speech therapy externship for spring 2025, pending solicitor review and approval. 10.3, request permission to approve a service agreement with Vector Solutions for K-12 employee training at the prorated amount of $2,000, beginning 1/1/25 and ending 6/1/25, as attached. And 10.4, request permission to renew an agreement with Sweet Steve's Katz and Williams as special counsel for special education legal services with hourly rates as listed in the fee agreement as presented. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 10.1 through 10.4. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to make a couple of comments with regard to 10.1. I would normally not be voting for this. However, I do care about the safety of our teachers and staff and fellow students in classrooms that something like this may need to be done. But what I would say is that we continue to put pressure on the BCIU to take care of, to have a plan in place for Berks County and other schools within Berks County to be able to fulfill the needs of students that particularly need additional resources that maybe our school district currently does not handle, or it's very far to and costly to do. So I just want to make those comments publicly, but I would agree that as we discussed internally, that the, BCIU needs to step up and actually come up with a plan to take care of this and particular situations like this for all Berks County.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any other discussion for student service items? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Operations, 11.1, request approval for Crabtree, Rohrbach and Associates to continue to the construction documentation phase of architectural services to design a new elementary school at Lincoln Park, not to exceed $317,033. Looking for a motion for 11.1.
So moved. Case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, again, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Dowdy, on this item. Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 12.1, request permission to receive the financial and compliance audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. 12.2, request approval of the CBIZ CPA's local tax compliance audit and consulting services renewal as attached. 12.3, request approval to open checking and savings accounts with First National Bank for the Child Care Fund, High School Student Activities Fund, Southern Middle School Student Activities Fund, and West Middle School Student Activities Fund. 12.4, request approval to close the checking and savings account with Mid-Penn Bank for the Child Care Fund, High School Student Activities Fund, West Middle School Student Activities Fund, and Southern Student Activities Fund. 12.5, request permission to submit one delinquent account to the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau. 12.6, request approval of an information exchange agreement with Township of Spring as attached. And 12.7, request approval of the budget transfers dated November 14th, 2024 through December 5th, 2024 as attached. Looking for a motion to approve finance items 12.1 through 12.7.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I just would like to note the change from 12.3 to 12.4, they're the same accounts, just switching to a different bank. Okay, hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Teaching and Learning, 13.1, request approval of the purchase of updated units of study in reading for grades K through 2 and writing for grades K through 5, as detailed in the attached proposal. The materials cost is $151,023.74, paid from the Ready to Learn grant adequacy funding. Looking for a motion for 13.1. Mr. McCree is a first, Dr. Kennedy second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under policies, we have no voting items tonight, but we do have a first reading of the following policies: 336, personal necessity leave, and 317.1, educator misconduct. And we have a second reading of the following: 218.2, weapons, 218.3, terroristic threats, and 249, bullying, cyberbullying. Those items will be voted on at our meeting on January 20th, which is our next meeting. Under miscellaneous enrollment report, as of December 11th, 2024, there are 66,502 students, which is a decrease of 2 from the previous report on November 13th. This takes us to our committee reports. As it is the end of the year, this is our last report structure. We are actually going to, in the new year, have we've condensed some committees, and we're going to have slightly different structure in reporting. So let's one last nostalgic long report. So BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Thank you, President Cocker. I hope I won't be first, but anyway, our last meeting of the year was on December the 12th. Unfortunately, I had a conflict because of all of the concert, because it's concert season, was not able to attend. It's the only meeting that they schedule on a Thursday night. So I was unable to attend. But I did want to just highlight a couple of upcoming dates for BCTC. On this week, December 17th through the 18th, is the Skills USA District 4 competition with Reading-Muhlenberg Career and Technology Center as well. And then the second date is January 6th, 2025, is the Future Farmers of America Midwinter Convention and the Farm Show competition. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. BCIU, Dr. Kennedy is going to attempt.
I actually don't have a report for the BCIU. I would like to thank Dr. Hackman. She always sends nice pretzels every year to the board members, so thank you to her and Mrs. Cote and the rest of the board. I do have a teaching and learning committee minutes, but Mr. Schneider is going to kindly take that over so you don't have to listen to my voice, which sounds like nails on a chalkboard.
Hi, thank you. We met on the 4th, discussed several things, one of which we voted on today, the updated materials for curriculum for ELA for grades K through 5. We discussed at the middle school level the development of a program of studies, essentially mirroring what we offer at the high school, so you can see all the course offerings that would be there. There is a committee forming to review homework procedures after winter break, consisting of both teachers and administrators. At the high school level, there are a couple new proposed courses, excuse me, one for an honors credit in band, chorus, orchestra, one called A Journey Through Art, which focuses on both 2D and 3D art, some updates to the JROTC cybersecurity courses, which that stuff is just so cool. Pre-algebra, changing the way we currently administer algebra with 1A and B. Teaching assistant internship for 1 credit, and an adaptive music class. They are finishing up the finalization of the program of studies for the high school, and we hope to have that for board approval on the 20th.
Thank you both for the reports. Student Services, Mr. McCree.
No report.
Thank you. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. Thank you. Extracurricular Committee also does not have a report. We did not have items, so our meeting was not held. Facilities Committee, Mr. Case.
Thank you, President Cocker. We had a facility meeting. It was held on December 9th. It was a great meeting. It kicked off with 2 Boy Scouts from Wilson presenting their Eagle Scout projects. Jacob Gentis presented his Eagle Scout project, which he would like to add 4 benches along the walking trail to the Green Valley West Campus. Currently, there are no benches, and he feels this would be a nice addition to give rests and breaks to the community members when needed. He plans to strategically place them in areas most beneficial to community rest areas. River Valley Landscapes, which is a great community partner, has graciously agreed to donate all 4 benches. They are 6 feet long, made of steel. They come pre-assembled and will need to be concreted into the ground. So Jacob will be asking Lowe's and Home Depot for donations of concrete and the scout troop will volunteer to install the benches. So looking for a spring installation. And I'll tell you what, I mean, the project really demonstrates, Jacob's leadership abilities, community outreach, getting all those parties involved, project management, volunteer, and fundraising efforts. So, very proud of Jacob and his journey to becoming an Eagle Scout. Along with Jacob, Colin Kwiatkowski also presented his Eagle Scout project, which is building and installing a little library at Whitfield, similar to the ones currently at Shiloh Hills and Cornwall Terrace. The design would be basically the same. He would be looking to get the materials and build the frame, and the women's library will help to build the library, the books, etc. first, and then the idea is that the community members will add their own books after they are done reading, while also borrowing from the library. So Colin would also like to add another bench in front of the mosaic at Whitfield, and he will do some research to have it match the one that is currently there to and look to have it donated. So that was two great presentations, and we definitely wish Colin and Jacob great success in doing that. I know Mr. Simcox and the facilities team have been a great help and resource in guiding the two young men into working with the district and making sure that we dot all the I's and cross the T's and everything fits in long-term for Wilson School District. Next up was Mr. Dowdy from Crabtree presented the Lincoln Park and the Southern Middle School updates. You did see the Lincoln Park presentation tonight, so I'm not going to go through that all again. That is online for anyone who would be interested in learning more about that or seeing it again. And with regard to Southern Middle School, things are progressing well with the construction documentation phase, and if all goes well, this project will go out to bid potentially in the April or May timeframe. Mrs. Christine Schlossman presented the capital update, which is posted online. For the remaining 24-25 balance is 1.7 million. Wilson is healthy and has 10 plus years, which we're required by law of capital expenditures covered for 10 years. And with regard to budgets and the projects that we have, we looked at, I guess, the two projects for phase 2 that are currently on deck is the Lincoln Park, that just came in. We learned $35 to $38.5 million. The Southern Middle School renovations and additions will be approximately $48 to $53 million. So between the two, for phase 2 construction, we're looking at $83 and $91.7 million. The projected 2021 C general obligation capital funds available right now is between 16 and 17 million. The 2024 bond that we just wound up getting is 15 million. So between that, if we're going to go further with these projects, as we have talked within finance and before, I just want to, we went through this again, we're going to have to come up with an additional $51 to $60.7 million. So more to come on that and the conversations with the board on how to fund the future projects, and whether, what kind of mortgage we're going to put out for the district versus, increases potential and having those discussions. Looking forward to those. Other business, fire panel upgrades. Mr. Simcox informed the committee that most of the fire panels in the district are obsolete or becoming obsolete. It's very hard to get parts, etc. So we're looking at potential projects in the future of $28,000 to $44,000 per building. Nothing on any agendas yet, but just kind of, stoking we're warming the fires and, looking to maybe get that into potential budgets in the future. The West Lighting Project, an RFQ is out, or we're looking to do an RFQ for the ballast. The district will be putting out an RFQ for lighting at West. The system is in need of replacement and it is not operating properly and parts are obsolete and difficult to find as well. And then with regard to HVAC controls, we're looking into being able to adjust HVAC systems remotely through computer systems. So more to come on that in the future. So the next facilities meeting will be on Monday, February 10th. In other news, real quick, just, lots of work over the holiday break, with Mr. Simcox and the team. There's going to be a new PA system outside the lower house that those activities going on. Performing arts continues to be constructed over the holiday. There's electrical upgrades in the gym that will be taking place over the holiday. And you'll see some work on the Spring Ridge sign, some electrical conduit underground, and getting ready for the sign to be placed outside. So that's it. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
Thank you. Legislative, Mr. Schneider.
No report.
Thank you. Human Resources, Mr. Hart.
Thank you. I just want to thank Mr. Bender and the whole Human Resources Department, as well as the admin team for their support for a very aggressive school year of hiring and recruitment and retaining. And great job to all of you. Again, it was a lot of work. You did a great job. Happy holidays to the fellow board members, all Wilson employees, and the community. And to the employees of Wilson, please take time to enjoy the break. It's well needed, well deserved, and you've earned it. So take time to relax and enjoy the season with your family and friends. Thank you, and see you next year.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Well, good evening. I just wanted to provide a public update regarding a new initiative aimed at enhancing the safety of our students. So as of January 6th, 2025, which is the day we all come back from break, the Wilson School District will be implementing the Bus Patrol Safety Program. This program is designed to deter reckless driving around school buses and protect our children. Each school bus in our district will be equipped with advanced safety technology, including photo and enforcement cameras. The cameras will capture vehicles that illegally pass stop school buses, and law enforcement officers will review each incident before issuing a violation notice. So we encourage all parents, guardians, and community members to familiarize themselves with school bus safety laws and remind their children to always exercise caution when boarding and disembarking school buses. For more detailed information on the bus safety program, please visit our dedicated website. You can find a link to this site on the homepage of our district website. This custom site provides comprehensive information on how the system works, how violations are handled, and other important resources, including all of the laws surrounding school buses. We've been sharing this information with our community about the Bus Patrol program throughout all of our district communications. And in addition, local media have expressed interest in covering the program in their publications, and there have been some articles already published about our implementing this new system. And then also, the Wilson School District is excited to announce that we are once again offering our popular Building Bulldogs program for families in our school community. The program builds skills for kindergarten success, relationships with families, and confidence for students transitioning into kindergarten. Building Bulldogs is available for residents of the Wilson School District with children who are ages 4 to 5 years old before September 1st, 2024, and their parents. There will be an informational night for parents and guardians at the district admin building on January 15th at 6 p.m. And this year, something new we're trying is we're sending a postcard invitation to residents in our district with children who meet the age criteria to hopefully spread the word even further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
No report. Thank you.
Thank you. Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
Yes, we did meet earlier this evening on a couple of different points were covered. First of all, the district is looking to become affiliated member of One Ed Tech. This is a system that allows us to rate the privacy of the applications used across the district and assess any level of risk with any privacy possible violations that we are using or obviously choose not to use. Secondly, new radios have been distributed across the district with repeaters installed. All our new radios are now digital as opposed to analog. And of course, that also allows us to have even greater range than before for safety and communication purposes. Next, our phone system provider has let us know they will be ending support by the year 2029. So we will begin to gather options on possible replacement systems. Obviously, this gives us a lot of lead time to do that, and eventually put together an RFP, possibly in consultation with other districts and even the BCIU, which happen to use the same vendor right now. So we have some time to maybe kind of get together and use some economies of scale there to benefit us down the road. And finally, a series of 55-inch monitors have been purchased for each office across the district to display what the security cameras are showing around the building and outside the building to all our staff so they can keep an eye on what is going on for additional safety purposes. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Student Outreach, Ms. Isabel Negrini.
Thank you, President Cucker. I first wanted to start off by highlighting our incredible elementary schools and specifically the teachers who do such an amazing job of, making such an effort to interact with their kids. So congratulations to Whitfield Elementary School for raising an incredible amount of over $15,000 for their Dance-a-thon fundraiser. Additionally, I want to applaud all the teachers who have really been doing a great effort of creating hands-on learning activities, including third grade at Shiloh Hills, exploring animal research through, exploring artifacts and animal bones. And additionally, I want to congratulate second grade at Cornwall Terrace for becoming surgeons at their Place Value Hospital. This was a really fun activity designed to help them learn their place value skills in math. In terms of Wilson leadership, I first wanted to thank the WEA for holding their annual Community Closet event, which is a wonderful opportunity that community members have access to clothing and toys that are all donated by our amazing staff. Additionally, on December 7th, Wilson High School's Minithon had an incredible glow run and walk at Wilson West, which was very successful. And I also wanted to highlight this past Friday, Minithon also had their first yearly Kids Night Out event. I had the privilege of being there and helping out, and while I do say that was very chaotic with over 200 children, it was a very successful event. We raised a little over $4,000 towards our cause of raising money for children fighting childhood pediatric cancer. So it was very successful as well. And Stockings for Soldiers was another huge success held last week, allowing for several care packages to be prepared for Keystone military families. So I wanted to thank high school senior Anthony Fiore for making this happen once again. Additionally, congratulations to the girls wrestling team for earning first place overall at the Pottstown Invitational Tournament. I wanted to recognize these incredible female athletes, as not only is this such a male-dominated sport, and they're doing such a phenomenal job of representing the female representation and population in this, but also the fact that this was, formed, I think, a year or two ago. Yes, last year. So I think it's absolutely incredible that they're having such success in such a short time. And congratulations to the boys and the girls swim and diving teams who still remain undefeated. Thank you so much, and I all hope you have a happy holiday season.
Thank you, Ms. Negrini. Mr. Moravich, do you have a report?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. We do not have public participation on non-agenda items. Any other business from the board? Mr. McCree?
I just wanted to offer my personal condolences to the family of Andrea Page Bowser Grybowski, a Southern middle school student who passed away earlier. And I know this is a very tough time for families and anyone during the holidays, but I just want them to know that we are thinking about them and that we're praying for them and keeping them close in our hearts as they go through this tremendous loss for such a magnificent young woman. And our prayers are with them.
Thank you, Mr. McCree. Any other business from the board? Okay, just repeat Mr. Hart's sentiment that everyone have a happy and healthy break, and especially our staff, kind of rejuvenate yourselves, take a rest, and not that the holiday season is any less busy, but hopefully you have some time for yourself and can get back into the new year with a new energy. Thank you. Have a good evening. Oh, looking for sorry, almost just left. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Meeting adjourned.